Imagine a weapon that doesn't break bones, but breaks your will. A weapon that doesn't fire bullets, but fires messages, tailored to your deepest insecurities, your quietest fears, and your most private desires. Now imagine this weapon is aimed directly at your mind, with one goal: to control how you vote. This isn't science fiction. This is the chilling true story of Cambridge Analytica, a company that turned your personal data into a political weapon. It's the story of how your casual clicks, late-night scrolls, and innocent-looking personality quizzes were harvested and turned into a tool for psychological warfare. It's a story that sits at the dark crossroads of big data, psychology, and politics. And it has forever changed our elections and raised questions about free will itself. The world really woke up to this in March 2018, when news outlets on both sides of the Atlantic broke a story that felt like it was pulled from a dystopian novel. A British political consulting firm, Cambridge Analytica, had managed to get and exploit the personal data of up to 87 million Facebook users. This wasn't a hack in the old-fashioned sense. No servers were breached, no firewalls were bypassed. Instead, the door was opened from the inside through a seemingly harmless app that millions of people used willingly. But the consequences were anything but harmless. This data fueled one of the most ambitious and controversial political operations in modern history, playing a documented role in the 2016 US presidential election and the UK's Brexit referendum. The scandal forced a global reckoning. It pulled back the curtain on the shady world of data brokerage and revealed the frightening power that social media platforms hold over us. It led to the collapse of a multi-million-dollar company, hauled one of the world's most powerful CEOs before Congress, and ended in a landmark $5 billion fine against Facebook by the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. More importantly, it exposed a fundamental weakness in our democracy, one that could be exploited by anyone with enough data and the right algorithm. This isn't just a story about one rogue company or a single election. It's a story about the hidden forces that shape our reality. It's about how the platforms we use to connect with each other can be turned against us, used to divide and manipulate. And it all begins with a simple online quiz. Section 1, the data heist of the century. It all started with an app called This Is Your Digital Life. Developed in 2013 by a Cambridge University academic named Alexander Kogan, the app looked like a personality quiz for research. Hundreds of thousands of Facebook users were paid a little bit of money to take the test, answering questions to build a psychological profile. They were told their data was for academic research, a plausible, even benign explanation. What they weren't told was what the app could really do. The true genius and the true horror of the This Is Your Digital Life app was its ability to leverage Facebook's then permissive data policies. It wasn't just about the data of the 270,000 to 300,000 users who actively took the quiz. It was about their friends. Thanks to Facebook's rules at the time, the app didn't just collect data from the person taking the quiz. In a stunning breach of privacy, it also scraped the personal information of their entire network of Facebook friends. This meant that for every single person who took the quiz, the data of hundreds of their friends was also harvested, all without their knowledge or consent. A single user's consent opened a gateway to their entire social circle. Your public profile, your page likes, your birthday, your city, it was all siphoned away. Through just 270,000 to 300,000 quiz takers, Cambridge Analytica amassed a treasure trove of data from as many as 87 million profiles. This was the fuel for their political machine. Kogan, in direct violation of Facebook's policies, passed this mountain of data to Cambridge Analytica. Facebook's rules were clear. Data from apps could be used to improve the app experience, but it couldn't be sold or used for advertising. They ignored these rules completely. Facebook found out about this illicit data transfer in 2015. They asked Kogan and Cambridge Analytica to delete the data and were assured it had been done. But it wasn't deleted. It became the foundation of the company's entire business model. The revelation of this fact, brought to light in 2018 by whistleblower and former Cambridge Analytica employee Christopher Wiley, is what blew the scandal wide open. What a new wave of populist political campaigns was looking for. And in 2016, Cambridge Analytica found its biggest client yet. Section 3. The 2016 U.S. election, a case study in manipulation. Cambridge Analytica's work in American politics started before 2016, with the firm providing services to several Republican campaigns in the 2014 midterms. Their first major presidential client in the 2016 cycle was Senator Ted Cruz's campaign, which paid the firm nearly $6 million. But it was their work for the Donald Trump campaign that would make them infamous. After Cruz dropped out of the race, the billionaire Mercer family, who were major investors in Cambridge Analytica, threw their support and their data firm behind Donald Trump. The Trump campaign's data operation was struggling, and Cambridge Analytica filled the void. Cambridge Analytica's claims of influence in the 2016 election are difficult to definitively prove, but their self-reported figures are staggering. They boasted of creating over 5,000 ad campaigns that generated a staggering 1.5 billion impressions. The firm's CEO, Alexander Nix, would later brag that their data-driven approach was the key to Trump's shocking victory, pointing to the narrow electoral college win despite losing the popular vote by 3 million. The strategy was twofold. First, they used their psychological profiles to energize Trump's base, feeding them messages that reinforced their existing passions. Second, and more controversially, they targeted potential Hillary Clinton voters, particularly groups like African Americans, with messages designed not to convert them, but to suppress their vote. This could mean highlighting controversial statements from Clinton's past or pushing a narrative of political disillusionment, all to convince them to just stay home on Election Day. The allegations that Cambridge Analytica engaged in voter suppression tactics, specifically targeting communities of color, are deeply troubling. For African Americans who have historically faced systemic barriers to voting, any effort to discourage participation strikes at the very heart of our democratic principles. While hard numbers on suppressed votes are elusive, the intent itself is a clear attack on democratic engagement. The truly explosive revelation, however, came from internal documents released years later. These documents provided what appeared to be strong evidence of illegal coordination between the official Trump campaign and a supposedly independent super PAC, Make America Number One, which was also backed by the Mercers. Federal election law strictly prohibits this kind of coordination. Yet, Cambridge Analytica was working for both at the same time. The firm was developing creative for the super PAC while also making ads for the Trump campaign. The ads for both were remarkably similar. This suggested Cambridge Analytica was acting as an illegal channel, letting the super PAC spending be directed by the campaign's private strategy. For instance, in the final days of the election, the firm used the super PAC's money to target Michigan with 72-hour voter turnout videos. The firm later argued that without this specific investment, Trump would not have won his narrow historic victory in the state. This wasn't just sophisticated marketing. It was a systematic effort to manipulate the electorate on an unprecedented scale, using private data to create a psychological dragnet. And as the dust settled in America, it became clear the firm's shadow also fell across the Atlantic. Section 4. The Brexit Connection. Across the pond, another political earthquake was rocking the Western world, Brexit. And once again, the name Cambridge Analytica was lurking in the background, though its exact role here is one of the most hotly debated parts of the story. The firm's CEO, Alexander Nix, and leaders of the Leave EU campaign repeatedly denied working together. But a stream of leaked emails and whistleblower testimony told a very different story. Brittany Kaiser, a former director at the firm, gave evidence to a British parliamentary committee showing that Cambridge Analytica had indeed worked with the Leave EU campaign, co-founded by Nigel Farage, as well as his political party, UKIP. The documents Brittany Kaiser provided were compelling. They showed Cambridge Analytica had analyzed UKIP's data to help the pro-Brexit campaign identify and target voters. An internal email even outlined its strategy for big data solutions for the EU referendum. Kaiser testified that Leave EU used data sets from Cambridge Analytica to target voters online. The strategy in the UK seemed to mirror the one in the US. It was about finding persuadable voters and hitting them with emotionally charged content that played on fears around issues like immigration and national sovereignty. Adding another layer of complexity was a small Canadian data firm called Aggregate IQ, AIQ. Whistleblower Christopher Wiley testified that AIQ was basically an offshoot of Cambridge Analytica's parent company and that they often shared data. The official Vote Leave campaign, the one fronted by Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, paid a staggering £2.7 million, approximately $3.4 million USD, to AIQ, nearly 40% of its entire budget. Wiley alleged this was a scheme to get around strict campaign finance laws. He argued this cheating may well have swayed the final result of the referendum, which was decided by a razor-thin margin of 51.9% to 48.1%. Despite these explosive claims, official investigations by the UK's Information Commissioner's Office concluded that the company's work didn't amount to significant breaches of the law and that its involvement was limited. This remains a major point of contention. Critics argue the investigation didn't dig deep enough into the Weber relationships. In the end, the full extent of Cambridge Analytica's role in one of the most consequential decisions in modern British history remains shrouded in a fog of denials and conflicting accounts. For watching. If this video gave you a new perspective or made you think differently about the world, then you're exactly the kind of viewer we create content for. We dive deep into untold stories. The story of Cambridge Analytica is a stark reminder that our data is not just a record of what we've done, but a predictor of what we'll do next. In the wrong hands, it can be used to manipulate us. This forces all of us to ask some hard questions. How much of our privacy are we willing to trade for convenience? How do we protect our democracy from this new kind of psychological influence? And what is the responsibility of tech giants like Facebook to protect the information we give them? This isn't just about politics, it's about our society. Understanding how these systems work is the first step toward building a safer, more transparent digital world. The conversation about data privacy is one of the most important of our time, and it involves every single one of us. The fallout from the Cambridge Analytica scandal was immense. In May 2018, facing a storm of legal action and public fury, Cambridge Analytica and its parent company, SCL Group, filed for bankruptcy and shut down. But the ghost of their work lives on. Key players from the company have simply moved on to create new firms offering similar data-driven political services. The tools and techniques they pioneered haven't disappeared. They've just become part of the standard playbook for modern political campaigns. For Facebook, the scandal was a disaster. CEO Mark Zuckerberg was called to testify before a baffled U.S. Congress where he apologized for the platform's failures. The company was hit with a record-breaking $5 billion fine by the U.S. Federal Trade Commission and later agreed to pay $725 million to settle a class action lawsuit from users whose data was shared. The scandal forced Facebook and other tech platforms to tighten their data policies and create ad transparency tools. In Europe, the scandal contributed to the implementation of the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, a landmark privacy law. There's an ongoing debate about how much actual impact Cambridge Analytica had on the election outcomes. Some academic studies suggest their claimed precision might have been overstated, and that traditional demographic targeting is still a primary driver. For example, some experts like Eitan Hirsch of Tufts University have stated that no evidence has been produced publicly about the firm's profiling or targeting to suggest that its efforts were effective in swaying the electorate, likening some of their tactics to broad-based robocalls, which have limited effectiveness. However, what Cambridge Analytica did prove was a terrifying proof of concept. They showed that it was possible to take the digital footprints we all leave behind and forge them into a psychological key, one capable of unlocking our deepest biases and influencing our most important decisions. The spread of these techniques poses a profound threat to democracy. Being targeted by manipulative ads can erode faith in the entire process. The scandal triggered a global conversation about data privacy, leading to new regulations. But the problem is far from solved. We live in a world where data is the new oil. The business models of the largest companies on Earth are built on collecting and selling that resource. The story of Cambridge Analytica is a permanent, chilling cautionary tale. It revealed that the infrastructure for influencing public opinion on a massive scale has already been built. The question now is not whether it can be done, but who will control it and for what purpose. Your data is out there, and in the right hands or the wrong ones, it's more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Thanks for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective or made you think differently about the world, then you're exactly the kind of viewer we create content for. We dive deep into untold stories, hidden truths, and the powerful forces shaping our lives. So if you're into that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. We got tons of other videos just like this, packed with insane stories, financial secrets, and historical deep dives that most people never hear about. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you in the next one. If you found this deep dive into one of history's greatest financial crimes compelling, make sure to subscribe for more stories of epic frauds and market mysteries. And let us know in the comments what story you think we should unravel next. Again, thanks for watching.